Hey guys, Spear Spartans here, and last week EA dropped their top 25 defenses in college football 25, and there are some interesting rankings, and let's just kick it off with the craziness and get to number 20, Colorado at 84 overall. In my last video, we talked about how Colorado was given a top 10 offense in college football 25, which is honestly, in my opinion, not the worst. I mean, as I mentioned in the video, I think they should have been more closer down to like the 20s, but I do think they will have a pretty good offense this year, even though their efficiency last year was only like in the 90s offensively. On the other side, though, the defense was just abysmal. They were in the 100s in efficiency, I believe, and they were just one of the worst Power 5 defenses in the country. And so for EA to put them at number 20 when there are a lot of really good defenses in college football, I think is just crazy. Uh, these rankings are subject to change, so maybe they're just doing this as like clickbait to get like people to talk about the game and stuff, which honestly might be the case because Colorado is one of the bigger storylines, and seeing how well Deion Sanders will do in year two, see if he can take them to a bowl game, but having them ranked at 20 for defense when they were atrocious last year. It's just insane. So now that we've gotten that BS out of the way, guys, let's just get into the top 10 here. I'll have the full top 25 ranking in the description below. At number one, they have Ohio State at 96 overall. And that one was kind of interesting. I was definitely expecting Georgia there. That's who I would have had personally. But they decided to go with Ohio State. Ryan Day and Ohio State added a lot of transfers this offseason on defense. We'll see how that pans out for them. They definitely cannot afford to get embarrassed by Michigan once again. So hopefully they can do that. As a Michigan State fan, always love to see Michigan lose, but Michigan's definitely had the better hand the last few years. So Ohio State's really trying to address that defense this year. At number two, Georgia, 94 overall. As I said, me personally, Georgia's defense the last few years has just been insane, and I would have had Georgia at number one. I mean, half their guys, it seems, are like on the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL right now. Um, Number three, Oregon at 90 overall. I was kind of surprised with how high they have the Oregon defense ranked. It's definitely probably a pretty good defense. They have a lot of athletes out there in Eugene, but I think there are probably some better defenses. Their offense is always really good, but I was kind of surprised by a number three ranking on the defensive side for Oregon. At number four, Alabama, also at 90 overall. Not too much of a surprise. Alabama always has one of the better defenses. Number five, Clemson, 90 overall. As I mentioned in my last video, I didn't think they deserved a top 10 ranking offensively because their offense just hasn't been really very good, especially since like Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson have left. But Clemson defense is still usually super solid. Even without Brent Venables, I think they'll have a top 10 defense. And so, pretty good ranking there at number five for them. At number six, Notre Dame. I think they'll have a pretty good defense once again. If they can just figure out some stuff offensively, they could be set up pretty nicely for the playoff. But they just got to figure that out on the offensive end. At number seven, after not making the top 25 offenses, Michigan finds their way in. Um, Fairly good ranking. I would definitely probably have Michigan higher than Oregon on the defensive side of the ball, but Michigan there also with a 90 overall ranking, so good for them. At number eight, Texas at 88 overall. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the switch to SEC offenses, which historically I feel like have not been nearly as good as Big 12 offenses, but recently the SEC offenses have gotten a little bit better. A lot of that is contributed to the better quarterback play we've seen with like Joe Burrow and Tua. So, we'll have to wait and see how Texas does in the SEC. At number nine, Penn State at 88 overall. That one's a pretty solid ranking. Penn State defense is always good. Their offense is usually just what lets them down, it seems, year after year. At number 10, Utah at 88 overall to round out the top 10. And pretty good ranking for Utah. I mean, there's so many other good defensive teams that could have been there. Me personally, I would have had Iowa in my top 10. Iowa always has one of the best defenses, even if their offense can't score a touchdown. So that's the top 10 guys. And I'll talk a little bit more about a couple of these teams here in the top 25. So, but if you want the top 25, the rankings are in the description below. Speaking of Iowa, they are at number 13, also at 88 overall. I was definitely surprised Iowa didn't make the top 10. I thought that was kind of like a given, to be honest, because of how good their defense is year after year. Even though their offense can never score anything, their offense usually puts their defense at a very tough position. I was very surprised they didn't somehow get in the top 10. Wisconsin's at number 15. At number 16, though, USC somehow snuck in here. I was very surprised by that ranking. USC and Colorado are the two biggest ones on this list where you're just like, why are they on this list? They should not be on here whatsoever. USC's defense definitely cost Caleb Williams some wins over the last couple of years. So I was very surprised to see them on this list. But that's kind of the rankings here. If you want to see the full top 25, as I said before, they're in the description below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the top 25 defenses, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.